Hey guys, what's up? This is Bret. Welcome to this week's episode of Friday on the Turntable. Here in Arizona, it is scorching hot. Today I went out to lunch with my girlfriend, 119 degrees. Insane. So, yeah, just crazy. So let's get things started here. Today, as you can tell from the title of the video, I'm talking about the band Fishbone and their first EP from 1985. You know the drill. Before I show that album to discuss, I'm going to show you some other things that came out also in 1985. The Cult, Love. What an album this is. Gatefold. Man, the tracks She Sells Sanctuary, Black Angel, Hollow Man, Revolution, Rain, Nirvana, Big Neon Glitter, Brother Wolf, Sister Moon. My favorite Cult album right here, 1985. R.E.M's third album, Fables of the Reconstruction, or also called A Reconstruction of the Fables. Like I said, their third album, 1985, has the track Driver 8, which is perhaps my favorite R.E.M. song. Prince's Around the World in a Day. It's got that little flap that comes over there, and it's also a gatefold. Raspberry Beret, Paisley Park, yeah, Prince. 1985 also saw the debut album from the Sisters of Mercy. This is First and Last and Always, also another gatefold. Really solid album. Their first album featured Wayne Hussey, who later went on to form The Mission, playing guitar, so tracks like Some Kind of Stranger, 9 Mile 9, First and Last and Always, Marianne, Black Planet. Great release. And last but not least, this kind of ties in a little bit to Fishbone because these guys were friends and musical colleagues of the same time as Fishbone in those early years. This band released their debut also in 1985, but then they never released a thing again. And that was the band Cycom. LA-based band, broke up right after releasing this EP. The original run of this EP was a 12-inch, and it was black. And a friend and I bought a copy of it back in the early 90s, a sealed copy. The original run of those was only 1,500 back then, and half of those were warped, so there was a lot of ruined ones. So we had a copy of that one, and my friend has it. It was reissued in 1994 on XXX Records on a clear 10-inch. Beautiful. The sound of this recording is just so incredible. The drums and the bass, and just really, really excellent. So 5 songs: Hoka Hey, Human Condition, Ziola, City of Nine Gates and Winds. Cycom was Aaron Schur, what's up Aaron, on drums, Vince Duran on guitar, Kelly Wheeler on bass, and Perry Farrell on vocals, who then shortly after this went on to form Jane's Addiction. Cycom's really cool because you get to hear that early Perry sound where he sings in a much lower timbre, and you get to hear glimpses of what his voice was to become in tracks like Ziola and stuff. So that's the 1985. So let's take a look at Fishbone and their first EP here. This is it, 5 songs. And how I got turned on to Fishbone. Interesting story about this. 1987, I was a teenager, and during the summer in Arizona, my next door neighbor Trey, we would go to the movies all the time, and we'd watch probably 3 movies a day. And this movie called Back to the Beach came out in the summer of 1987 with Frankie Avalon and Annette Funicello. And great movie. At the time, I was like, what is this, you know? But loved it, and I've seen it so many times since then. Well, there's a scene in there where there's a band playing on the beach. Ska, 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 Jamaica ska. That one. That's Fishbone. And that's how I first discovered Fishbone, was in this movie right here, 1987. Yeah, Back to the Beach from 1987. So anyways, Fishbone's EP came out 2 years before that, and it was produced by a guy named David Kahn, and he went on to also produce their next 3 albums, In Your Face, Truth and Soul, and Reality of My Surroundings. And he's also worked with the Bangles, and he did a Strokes album. He also did the first recordings of a girl named Lizzie Grant, who changed her name and went on to become Lana Del Rey. Interesting little tidbit right there. So the sound of early Fishbone is very ska based, and man, the musicianship on this one is just so phenomenal. This is in their their classic lineup. So you have the 6-piece. I'll just read off their names. You had Angelo Moore on sax and vocals, Walt Kibbe on trumpet and vocals. You had Kendall Jones on guitar, Chris Dowd on keys and trombone, and seriously one of the best bass players around, Norwood Fisher. Listen to Bonin in the Boneyard from Truth and Soul, just phenomenal. And then Fish on drums, just really good. This was on Columbia. There's a couple singles released from this album. There was Modern Industry, and then also, actually there's 6 songs on this. Modern Industry, and also the track Party at Ground Zero. So Party at Ground Zero, I have the 12-inch here. It's kind of a little interesting thing because I got this from a friend, PDQ Records, which was in Tucson, and it's actually signed. So I was looking at this earlier today, and it says Special K, not what anarchy, I will shake my ass off for sure. I think that's signed by Angelo Moore. But this is Party at Ground Zero. Excellent track. Great intro, and then it kicks into the really upbeat. Sounds like the intro sounds like Carmen, the opera, and then it kicks into the fast ska rhythm. So it's got 2 remixes on here. One by the famous remix artist Francois Kevorkian, and then it also has a B-side of Skankin' to the Beat. And then, like I said, there was another B-side another single for the track Another Generation, Modern Industry, Modern Industry. So another interesting kind of thing about this is whenever I would look at this, I would always be just fascinated by the printing on the actual. If you look really closely, you guys aren't probably going to see that too well, but it has that bitted look from like earlier printers, and I remember that because my early old Macintosh had that kind of a font printout. And as I was reading about it today, I learned that the artwork and the logo, that little fish, which became iconic for Fishbone, was actually created in Mac Paint by the producer David Kane. And so I thought that was an interesting little tidbit, and I think the logo obviously looks like that was done as well. So yeah, so they released an EP first, and then they went on to put out a couple other records, very shortly after that. The next was their first album, which was In Your Face, and then followed by Truth and Soul, which I don't have it on vinyl, but this is probably my favorite album of theirs. The track Mon Pa is just outstanding, and then Bone in the Boneyard, which I referred to earlier, Ghetto Soundwave, and Change. It has the more elements of hard rock and even metal comes in, and more acoustic bass. But if you look back at their roots, there's a lot more ska to their sound, and this is the early Fishbone. Is those first 3 records are the ones that I really prefer. In Reality, My Surroundings, which came out, which kind of a crossover. It had the track called Sunless Saturday on it, and I think they played on MTV back then. But my favorite tracks from this debut EP are Ugly, which is just killer. It's like this tuba that sort of Party at Ground Zero, and then Lion Ass Bitch, the closing track, which has vocal parts from someone named Lisa Grant, which I tried to find out some information about her, but she's only sung on a couple Fishbone things, and that's it. But whenever I think of this album, it brings me back to the early 90s. We had my brother and I were going to Arizona State University, and we were studying music, and we had started a ska band back then, and we were very prolific. We had a 5-piece band. We had 2 female singers. I played bass, my brother played guitar, and then guy on drums. And we wrote a whole bunch of songs, in a month or 2. It was really cool stuff, and it just makes me think of that time period because we were listening to a lot of Fishbone, and the band dissolved, and Jen, who was the singer, went on, and she has a band. She lives in Boston called Vila, and really good, really great singer. And then Bart and I, of course, formed Audra, and then The drummer John went on to, I think he is the drummer of Mandy Moore's live band. A little interesting little tidbit there. So I have a, whenever I see Fishbone, it always brings me back to those times. I saw Fishbone one time, and I was trying to research this because I don't have a ticket stub for it, and it was either in 1993 or 1994, and it was at a venue in Tempe, which is no longer here. It's just a dirt parking lot. They close down a building, and then they right away want to tear it down, and then it just sits vacant lot. So it's been vacant for years. They did that with the Long Wongs also on Mill Avenue in Tempe, which was just an iconic bar that started bands like the Gin Blossoms and Refreshments and Dead Hat Workshop, stuff like that. But Club Rio, that place was called, and I saw Fishbone there in 93 or 94. Prior to that, it was called the Devil House, but I saw Fishbone there. The opening act was the Mighty Boss Tones. Same venue. I saw Porno for Pyros, Love and Rockets. I've seen Morrissey there, and Danny Warhol's, bunch of other bands. So my memory of that show was, I remember my friend and I, we were standing right in front of the speaker tower, and Norwood Fisher was playing a 5-string bass, and every time he would hit that low B string, that would push out so much air that you couldn't breathe every time you hit that string, because it just pushed so much of the air out of that area that we were standing in that you'd gasp for air until it filtered back in. So great live band. Another thing I want to recommend to you guys is, although I haven't really followed much of the band's recording output since the mid-90s, I did watch a great documentary on them, which is available, and I will have a link below in the description box. But that was called Everyday Sunshine, and it's a couple years old now. And it takes you through kind of Fishbone's history, the drama of when Kendall Jones, the guitar player, left the band and then reunited with them, and it shows all of that. It shows the band now recording, because there's only actually 3 of the original 6 people left in the band. So it takes you through that history and kind of the struggles of bands that didn't hit a big level of success. And I think it's a really valuable piece of biographical, musical footage to watch. I'm a really big fan of musical documentaries and also musical biographies, so highly recommend that. I'll have a link below for that. Sorry, my cats are having a little scuffle over there. But so anyways, I think I'm going to close it out right there, guys. This is Fishbone 1985 debut. Highly recommend. If you can find any of these other ones as well, Truth and Soul, all excellent releases. So anyways, guys, have a good weekend. Talk to you soon.